Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something you use all day, every day, but probably never give a second thought to. Well, that is until you really have to. Yep, we are talking about the bladder, and it turns out its limits and the warning signs it gives you are way more surprising than you'd ever guess.
So, let's just jump right in with a question. What do you think your body's absolute limit is? And no, I'm not talking about how much weight you can lift or how long you can hold your breath. I'm talking about a much more internal capacity.
So what's the number? 1,000 milliliters. That's right, a full liter. And believe it or not, that is the amount of urine a human bladder has actually been seen to hold in some clinical cases. A whole liter. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
But hold on. Before you start thinking this is some kind of superpower or you're going to try to win a holding contest, you have to understand this. That 1 liter capacity, it's not a good thing. We're calling it the 1 liter anomaly because it's a total outlier, and it's actually a sign that something is seriously wrong.
And look, this isn't just some made-up number for shock value. This is a real-world medical observation. In a hospital, when a doctor puts in a catheter and a full liter of urine comes out, that's not a record. It's a massive red flag. It tells them immediately that something is going on, and they need to figure out what.
Okay, so if a liter is the absolute extreme, the danger zone, what does a normal, healthy day for your bladder even look like? To really get how wild that 1 liter number is, we first have to figure out, what's the baseline?
Well, think about how your body talks to you. At around 150 to 200 milliliters, you get that first little whisper, right? That gentle nudge that's like, hey, just so you know. Then, as it fills up to about 400, that whisper becomes a very clear, strong message. And by the time you hit about 500 milliliters, you're at what's considered normal max capacity. Your body's been sending you texts the whole time, getting more and more urgent.
So let's put this side by side, because this is where it really hits you. Normal maximum is around 500 milliliters. The clinical anomaly we're talking about is 1,000. That is literally double the volume. Can you just imagine any part of your body being forced to stretch that far beyond what it was designed for?
So this leads to the next big question. How on earth is this even possible? What could possibly cause a bladder to stretch out to such an extreme size? Well, it turns out when you investigate, there are 4 main culprits.
So for starters, you could have a physical blockage, like an enlarged prostate that's just not letting urine out, causing this chronic backup. Second, and this is a big one, is just plain old habit. If you consistently ignore the urge to go, you can literally train your bladder to overstretch. Third, there's a condition where little pouches form in the bladder wall. And finally, you could have nerve problems that just turn off the signals, meaning you might not even feel how dangerously full your bladder is.
Let's just zoom in on that third one for a second, because it's pretty interesting. These things are called bladder diverticula, and what they are these little pouches that bulge out from the bladder wall. The huge problem with them is that they can trap old urine, which means the bladder never gets to empty completely, and that leads to this constant state of overstretching.
All right, so we've covered the what and the why. But what about the so what? Why does any of this matter? Why is it so important to know that pushing your bladder to this kind of limit is a terrible idea? Well, this is where it gets really serious.
Really, it all comes down to this one simple idea. Although a bladder can sometimes stretch to 1 liter, this is abnormal. In other words, just because it can do something doesn't mean it should. It's a clear, unmistakable sign that something is very unhealthy. And the long-term consequences, they are no joke. This kind of chronic stretching can permanently damage the muscle of the bladder wall, making it weak and unable to squeeze properly to empty itself. And maybe even worse, all that pressure can actually back up into your kidneys and cause serious, lasting harm.
So we'll just leave you with this one last thought. That feeling, that urge to go, it's not just some annoying inconvenience. It's a vital piece of communication from your body. It's telling you exactly what it needs to stay healthy. So the real question is pretty simple. Are you listening?